Everyone, in this video we are going to discuss the basics of the repository design pattern. In a single line we can say repository pattern allows development of application which are decoupled from the underlying data storage mechanism. In the other word, you can say that the repository pattern is the bridge between, or you can say that abstraction between the two layers. One layer is a data access layer, another one is the business logic layer. In many of the applications, the data access logic is mixed with the business logic. This result the tight coupling of the business layer and data access logic. It's like that if you are not going to create that repository pattern, so that business logic layer and data access layer it will be mixed, and it will be that that code will be that means like a repeating in the same code it will be repeat. So that's why we are going to use repository pattern. Let's see with example. Here I have created one database, the SQL server that is in the DB general. In the DB general, the database we have two tables. One is that employee and one is that for this one for student. If we refresh that one, we'll see the two table employees and students. Open the Visual Studio. Here I'm going to create that one, that entity framework. So new items and select the data entity model, then model general DB. Here I'm going to create select the server name, then your SQL server, okay, and that password, and select the database that is your DB general. Click on OK, and yes, that it will be the DB general entities. Then select the here table, this one is your model, and click on finish. Now you can see that here that ADMX file has been added with that two tables, that is one is the employee table, one is the student table. So I'm going to create that one folder that is called a repository folder. Here I'm going to create that repository folder, add new folder, that will be the repository, because it's already, oh sorry, it's already there. Just delete this one. This here in the repository folder I am going to add that interface. That one is that I student repository, and another one, because the two table is that I student repository, another one is your I employee repository. In that I student repository and I employee repository, that is two table, and in the interface we are going to create that is your I enumerable, that mostly that for CRUD operation, because that CRUD operation is common for most of that model. Here it will return that employee, so write down the get all, that all employee will return, and then employee will return. Then if you will pass by ID, get by ID, so integer that employee ID. Another one is that your void, that is a add, so that it will be the employee object. Then for update, that also it will be the employee object, that employee. And another one is that for delete, it will be the employee ID, and then save. Same common method we are going to implement in for employee also. Let's implement this one also. Only one difference, it will be that instead of that employee it will be that student, because this one, oh sorry, this one, sorry for that, this one for employee, because this one is a I employee repository, or this one for students. So this one need to change that student, that one, or here it will become that student ID. This one also student ID. Sorry for that, because this one is a student repository, so that it will come with use for that student model, and this for employee, so it for employee model. Now going to create two more repository class, one for that student repository, here student repository, and another for that employee repository. So here we're going to write like employee repo, employee repository. So now going to use this here, it will be that, because this one is that employee, so I'm going to implement that I implement repository. Okay, so going to create that constructor, and here I'm going to write what's the entity's name. That entities will be that DS general entities. Create the variable of DS general entities, and create the object of it. Okay, this one is done. And one more, that a parameter constructor going to create, that for here it will pass that DB general entities and object. The two I'm going to create. I'll tell you why I'm creating. If that that client will know that what's the entities, so they can pass that particular entities here. If it not, so that directly they will create that object, so automatically that entities will be that create. So here if you will look, so that add, just I'm going to change here dot, because this one is employees dot add, so it will be the object. Same like for if you want to return, so it will return like a return db dot employees. Okay, it will return. If you byte ID, so automatically it will be written by ID, so just need to pass that single or default, just a single model dot employee ID equal to employee ID. Same way for other also, because this one is employee ID, so to pass here that employee ID. Okay, that for return that single object. Here it will be written that I enumerable, that this one is for the collection, this for the single object. Or same for save for what you have to do, you have to call that save changes, that's all. Okay, same for that student also you can do, you can implement yourself also. Student repository, here you can implement it all. Isn't? So now how you will call that repository to your controller. So right click on a controller, add controller. So I'm going to create that home controller at home. In the home controller, I'm going to create that object. So what's the this one I'm going to implement that for employee. Okay, so because here I have written that particular that method with that implementation also. So call that, create that object of a employee, that employee repository equal to new employee repository. Okay, if you want to pass, if you know that one, that your entity, so you can pass, otherwise leave it. Then the next one will be that your save method. Last it will be called that save. First need to assign that value, because this one is for employee, so create the object of employee that employee, that obj employee. So assign some default value. This value actually it will come from that your view, but I am hard coding here. New employee. I'll initialize the value. That employee is the auto number. So department is that I'm going to write that IT, and next one will be the name. That for invitation, and another one for salary. Salary is the 9,000. Okay, so this one I'm going to add with that dot add. Okay, so I'm going to pass this value. So what we have done till now, we have created the object of a employee repository, and because this here you can use the dependency injection also, because that the client class should not know that one, that your employee repository, about employee repository, they should know only that particular that interface. So here we can create that dependency injection also, so you can use that inject or some third-party tool for that dependency injection. But for now I'm not going to use that one, that dependency injection. Just I have created that object, I am assigning that value for the employee object, and I'm just passing that value. So let's see, let's run the application. First need to add the view also, otherwise it will get, or just return that content. Okay, so going to add some string data successfully added. Okay, now run the application. Let's see. You can see here data successfully added. Now you can see in the database, because what we have added, that for employee. Open that your, you can see here we have added for employee. So open that employee table. Let's see the data has been added or not. Now you can see that data has been added. If we will change the value, instead of IT I'm going to write that HRM, and technician 2, and instead of 99,000 I'm going to write 9,500. Now again run the, so that data will be inserted. Now again you can see that your data successfully added. Now you can see that to database. Let's see, you get the data. Now next what you will do, will retrieve the data. So just I'm going to comment this till here. Just comment this one, and going to call, first I will write like I enumerable, so it will be that employee only. So I'm going to write like list of employee, okay, equal to that object dot get all. So make a breakpoint here. Let's see if the data is coming, and run the application. Now you can see your records came. You see that your data is coming. So now here we had discussed that how to use repository pattern, but one thing you will notice that for iStudent repository is the same functionality, means like a same that method is there in the interface, and iEmployee also is that same interface, only it's that your model is changing. You can see that this one only model is changing, here its model is only changed. Okay, so in the next video we will learn how to use that generic repository. So in that one repository we can use for every functionality, just like here if I will create that one interface, only one interface, that will be the generic repository. Okay, so no need to create that for multiple Just like here I have created that I employee, I student. If you want that some more model will come, just like a teacher, management, that all that model will come. So it's not good a good practice for the same functionality you will write the same code. So better we can create that your generic repository. In the next video we will learn how to use generic repository. I hope it's clear. Thanks for watching.